Coming on the heels of President Obama's address to the nation tonight, I would also like you to consider some other relevant points, and this comes through an article by Paul Craig Roberts. Basically, what Roberts has to say is that the stimulus plan being proposed here, promoted by both President Obama and Tim Geithner, is not going to work, and here is why. Both are schemes hatched by a clique of financial insiders. The schemes will redistribute income and wealth from American taxpayers to the shyster bankers who have destroyed American jobs, ruined retirement plans of tens of millions of Americans, and worsened the situation of millions of people worldwide who naively trusted the American financial institutions. The ongoing theft has simply been recast. Instead of using fraudulent financial instruments, the banksters are now trying to use government policy and our taxpayer dollars. Michael Hudson captures the nature of this heist in a recent Counterpunch article. I'll try to post links to all this. When it comes to cleaning up the Greenspan bubble legacy, by writing down homeowner mortgage debt, the Treasury proposal offers homeowners $50 billion, just half of 1% of the $10 trillion Wall Street bailout to date. The Treasury has handed out $25 billion to each and every big bank, you know, the ones too big to fail, so that just 2 of these banks alone got as much as the reported 1/4 of all homeowners in America suffering from negative equity on their homes and in need of mortgage renegotiation. The big money man cannot conceive of anyone suffering except the mega rich. If billions are not at stake, what's the problem? How can a family losing its home bring down the economy? I'd like to add that big money men are complaining and have been complaining for months that any restrictions on their executive pay or outrageous bonuses will cause some sort of a brain drain on the financial sector. And these executives are now threatening to leave. You know, perhaps they should leave, because I don't think we need any more brains like these. As Roberts continues in his article, there was a time in America when the interests of the elites were somewhat connected to ordinary citizens. Henry Ford said that he paid his workers good wages so that they could afford to buy his cars. Today's American corporations pay foreign workers low wages so that CEOs can pay themselves multi-million-dollar bonuses, performance bonuses, that is. In order to penetrate and serve foreign markets, of course, U.S. corporations need overseas operations. There's nothing unusual or even unpatriotic about this. However, many U.S. corporations use foreign labor to manufacture abroad the products that they then sell in return to us. If Henry Ford had adopted this kind of philosophy, and had he used, had he used Indian, Chinese, or Mexican labor in pursuit of this, then of course Indian, Chinese, and Mexicans could possibly have purchased Ford cars, but certainly not Americans. This is, by the way, not a rant against foreign workers, because we're basically all workers and ordinary people across the globe are now in the same boat, because it is a race to the bottom, because we're all being pitted against each other. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Roberts goes on to say, no longer an American institution, immediately went to work to defeat any and all amendments to the TARP program, which actually demanded some accountability of U.S. corporations not to outsource jobs any further, or for that matter, bring in immigrants or foreign workers in order to retain American jobs. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce was against it. So that is the record. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Association of Manufacturers, Caterpillar, General Electric, and other transnational corporations, and of course editorial writers for these newspapers that are dependent on corporate advertising, set out to defeat the saying, buy or try to buy American. As far as these organizations are concerned, the stimulus bill has nothing to do with American jobs or the American economy at all. It only has to do with the special interest appetites that have political power to basically rip off the American taxpayer. The American economic elite are hiding their treason to the American people behind the word or phrase, free trade. And Roberts goes on to say, I want to make this as clearly as it can be said. The offshoring of American jobs is the antithesis of free trade. Free trade is based on comparative advantage. In other words, it's supposed to be fair trade. Job offshoring is an activity in pursuit of lowest factor cost, an activity that David Ricardo, the originator of free trade theory, described as the betrayal of one's own country in pursuit of absolute advantage over everyone. The free market shills on the payroll of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and in economic departments on their payrolls and several other think tanks are essentially, as Roberts calls them, whores aligned with the elites who are destroying the American workforce. Now, Obama has appointed to his National Economic Council blatant apologists for these sorts of policies. In fact, they are rewarded, even during the newest proposals by Geithner, for doing so. Nationalize the bad stuff, burden the taxpayer, but yet when it comes to profits, nothing is nationalized, and the bankers will continue to rob us blind. In fact, the whole concept of nationalization in a traditional sense has been turned completely on its head, and please read Michael Hudson's article about that, because basically nationalization means that profits are nationalized as well as the losses. And people actually, and their governments, have a say-so in terms of regulating banks and their conduct. But sadly, all of these proposals to date fall far short of this. In fact, they're pretty much a joke.